Alright, so I have one other image that's a solid, just single cell, and that's my squares image. So I'm going to go ahead and create a image asset for that. Use my app code. Let's see, it's going to be squares image. It is an image asset. Now the whole idea of my template always having to type in the schema location is probably not the most optimal way of doing it. If I were to create this asset inside of, say, script or my console and save it out, this schema location would automatically be placed in there. But since I'm not doing that, I'm using my workflow. Alright, so once again, I know I need an asset name. I'll say this is my squares image file, which is squares.png. And because again, I like my way of formatting. I like seeing this the way I do it. So there is squares image, squares.png. I'm just going to go ahead and just keep going, create the rest. But now we're going to get into, let's see, I'm going to do the soldier die. Let's go ahead and copy that so I can use it more. So there's a difference with this image. The soldier die, soldier idle, and soldier run animation or images. AppCode also has a nice little image viewer. As you can see, it's multiple sprites inside of a single image file. And Torch2D's image assets can handle that just fine. So I'm going to close this out. And the way that works is I need to add cell counts and cell dimensions. So if I were to pop this up, I'm going to go ahead and just say this is my soldier die image. This is soldier die.png. Now here's where we get into something different than what I've been showing so far. If I pop up my autocomplete, I see there's a cell count X, cell count Y, cell width, and cell height is what I'm needing. So this image I know is 1024 by 1024, and all the soldier images are evenly spaced out, and I happen to know that there's 4 across and 4 down. So for the cell count X, there's 4. There's 4 for the cell count Y, so 4 across, 4 down. And each individual cell, because it's evenly spaced, is essentially 1024 divided by 4. So cell height is 256. Cell width is also 256. Now, again, I could easily see if I messed up by, say, 256. And my schema doesn't like that. It's saying it shouldn't be text, it should be an int, it should be a number. So let me fix that. And this is the most that I need, or the minimum amount needed to create an image asset that has multiple cells. I've got my asset name, the file, the number of cells, X and Y, and then the width and height of each one. And I can just repeat that for the rest of mine as well. So I'm going to do that for my, let's see, soldier idle image, which is an image asset. Soldier idle image. And again, this is I can actually just copy and paste the rest of this in without an issue. So I'm going to do that, just to save time and so you don't have to hear me constantly typing. And that's fair. And the last one that I was going to create was the soldier run. Now this is also prone to error. Anytime you're doing copy and paste, you could easily mess up. So I'm going to change this to soldier run image and soldier run. And now if all this has gone well, which my schema is telling me I haven't made any errors, and I were to look at all of these, I've got my background, soldier die, soldier idle, and soldier run. So now I have all the image assets I'm going to use for this tutorial, and I want to start showing these inside of my scene. I already showed the background, so I'm going to start adding some more script to get the images just showing up so we can see what they look like. And I guess I should be technical. If I were to switch back to my script, it's not the toy is being reloaded. The script is not necessarily being reloaded. It's being executed a second time. And everything here stomps over what the last stored memory was for these functions. So the my assets reset, when it was executed, it was stored in a memory, and then when I reloaded the toy, it was re-executed, and this function was overwritten to show the new content. So, I'm just going to keep doing this. It saves time for me to just show that when I'm making these changes. So I'm going to change this to soldier idle image and just reload my toy. I'm going to change this to soldier die image and just reload. Ha! Problem here. Let's see what the issue was. Invalid frame 0 for asset ID soldier die image. So it looks like I am getting problems by reloading these functions. It looks like it's executing twice, so I should shut down. And there's a perfect example of shut down if you're making script changes. So my assets, soldier die image, something was wrong with that. I'm going to just have a look. Yep, image file. Very quick and easy. I could pour through the console, but it was just fast for me to look at it real quick and spot the problem immediately. So let's run that again. Yep, there he is. In all his dying glory. Alright, so all of my static ones look fine. It'll look silly, but might as well. Let's just change this to, I think I named that squares image. Yes. And it actually does not have a frame. I'm just going to comment that out for now. And there's my square. So all my images look good. Now the next step is we have these images, and I don't want to write a script that just goes through and changes the frame each time. We have an asset to handle that for us, and that's our animation asset. So the next step is I'm going to create animations for each of my soldier states. There's the death, the idle, and the run. So I'm going to create animations that will take in the image asset, define the animation frames, and then I can add that to a sprite's animation field. So I'm actually going to start by doing that. I'm going to go to animations using app code. I'm going to create a new TAML file again. And this one I'm going to call my soldier idle anim. And this is an animation asset, something's different. So now I'm creating an animation asset. And let's see what it's telling me is wrong. So it looks like it's just complaining that I don't have the right stuff in here. So that's fine. The asset name is going to be soldier idle anim. And this is a different field. I'm not actually pointing to an image asset file. if I were to go to the idle, the animation field that I'm looking for is just called image. And what I need to do is point to an asset ID, kind of like what I did with the sprite. And the formatting for this is really simple. It's just asset equals my assets soldier idle image. Then I can say my animation frames equals. This is where it gets. This is where having an editor might be kind of useful, but I happen to know there's 16 frames inside of my image, and that means I can start at index 0 and just count up to 15, and the 15 will represent the 16th image. There we go. And the timing of this is just basically 1 second to get through. And just one other thing I can do is animation cycle. By default this is true, but I'm going to specify it anyway. And there are other things I can do in here, but here's another handy thing I can show with the schema and XML editing. Let's say I try to go and do my animation frames, and I'm typing slow, I'm talking slow. You notice that it's not giving me a pop-up, and I get a nice little notification. It's telling me to remove it, and it's telling me why, because animation frames has already been defined. That's good. And here's my valid animation asset. So if I go back to my main.cs, I can actually change this from image, this is my soldier image.image, to animation, get rid of the frame, and switch the asset ID to point to my newly created soldier idle anim. And I'll double check the name here. Yep, that looks good. And this is my soldier idle image. And you notice it was the same asset name when added to this format. We'll use the asset ID. And if I run, kind of hard to tell, but if you're watching carefully, he's got a slight little jitter to him. He's just kind of bouncing slightly. And it's become more, I guess, visible when I switch to more animated states, like his run or death.